Okay, good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us for the PhotoShare program, which I think everyone will be impressed with. We've done these about a half dozen times, and it's always knocked me out, the excellent qualities of the photos. I'm Andy Mason. I'm one of the co-presidents of Delaware-Otsego Audubon Society. And I just want to mention a couple of announcements, most of which you've seen on the screen already, but I do want to focus on a couple of things. One is our Franklin Mountain Hawk Watch, which is ongoing. And we're right in the middle of a very good period of hawk migration. There were over 1,000 broadwing hawks counted yesterday, and over 400 again today. So it's a really good opportunity to see a lot of birds, see a really spectacular migration at the Hawk Watch. And information on all these activities and events can be found at our website, which is doas.us, pretty easy to remember. And there are directions to the Hawk Watch there and information about all the other announcements that were on the screen. We are taking birdseed orders for our fall fundraiser. The mornings have been getting chilly. We know fall is coming, and we'll be getting the bird feeders out. So it's definitely a good time to stock up. And there are order forms and information at the website, and if you get our newsletter in there also. Next month on October 8th is our open house up at the sanctuary, and that's always a popular event. We do trail walks around the property. We have a hawk identification workshop, and then the Hawk Watch is ongoing, so you can practice what you learn. We have refreshments, and it's just a nice day to get up and explore the sanctuary and find your way around with some guidance if you haven't been there before. We have our annual dinner, our charter dinner on October 18th, and that's out at the Quality Inn at the east end of Oneonta. And we have a good speaker this year who will be talking about identifying birds by song, which if you are a birder at all, you know is very important. And his name is John Robinson, and we're looking forward to that presentation. If you're interested in attending the dinner or just the presentation itself, check out the website for information. And then looking a little further out, we have in December our Christmas bird counts, December and early January, which are counts of birds in a defined area that we do each year, which contributes to citizen science on bird identification or bird populations and distribution. And then later that month, we have our annual Eagle trip, which is we'll be back after a hiatus of a couple of years down to see wintering bald eagles in Delaware County. And also in mid-January, we do a waterfowl count along the area waterways. So that we're always looking for participants for that. So that's my announcements for the evening. And the way this is going to work is we're going to bring up the slides, and we will have different folks, board members and officers, read the text that the photographer provided with the photograph. So you'll get a little background on the photographer's thoughts on the photo. And if you have questions, you can use the raise hand button down at the bottom there, or you can use the Q&A button to type in questions, and we'll handle the questions either as they come in or towards the end if we need to get some feedback from the photographers themselves. So with no further ado, I guess we can proceed with the photos. And our first reader is going to be Pam Peters.
Becky, did you want to start?
Yeah,
with anything?
I just want to say a little bit about tonight's program. We do have a wonderful variety of photos that have been shared by creative and enthusiastic individuals. And I thank you, we thank you, and also thanks everyone for joining us tonight. As Andy said, some of us will narrate the comments, and there will be a pause after each narration. Our first narrator is Pam Peters.
Thanks, Becky. Okay. All right, our first three photographs are from Janice Downey. And as you can see, the first one is a colorful red-breasted grosbeak. And Janice writes, "It's always a delightful sight to view this male rose-breasted grosbeak through a macro lens. He was being very selective at the bird feeder." This is Janice's favorite bluebird photo. She says, "Bluebirds often perch on our deck to enjoy the view and scan for insects. This photo was taken through our living room window on a very cold spring morning." He looks pretty puffed up. And here's a male northern oriole. Orioles are attracted to grape jelly and fresh oranges. The oranges also attract ruby-throated hummingbirds and red-breasted woodpeckers. Viewing any of these is a sight to savor in a photograph. Our next selection of photographs are from Jennifer Hippio. This first is Atlantic puffins. And Jennifer writes, "The water was too rough to land on the island in Maine. Staying out from shore drifting, I was gifted the opportunity to photograph birds in the water diving and feeding." Here's a male bobolink. Jennifer writes, "In the 7 years living on our slice of the planet, I have seen bobolinks in our fields only twice. Knowing the sightings were special, I took many photos and videos of them feeding and singing." And here's a photograph of a ruffed grouse, also from Jennifer. "For 2 years, a ruffed grouse would stand at the end of the driveway near the old fallen stone wall. I would use my car as a photo blind to catch moments like this." Another puffin. These next three are from Londa Palmer, one of our board members. Londa says, "I had a lifetime trip to Grimsey Island in Iceland this summer." And this is actually a tease of a program that Londa is presenting in January, but she had to share it now. She had 13 life birds on her trip to Iceland. This photograph is one Londa took in Montezuma Wildlife Refuge, spring of 2022. She found this dunlin along the edge of a controlled flooded field. And when we went back to the Audubon Center, they said it was the first of the season. Londa found snow buntings elusive for many years, she writes. So she had seen them in Michigan and now in Iceland, but never where she lives. Her husband would go out to spread manure and call her and say, hey, those white birds you're always looking for are up here where I spread manure. She'd head right out, no luck. So she arrives in Grimsey Island and the first morning awoke to the sweet song, and there were 6 buntings perched right outside the window. Speaking of Londa, she's up next with our next group of photographs.
Thank you, Pam. This is a photo from Lori Allen, the blue heron on Canandaigua. She was kayaking down a creek on the north end and saw this graceful beauty and said it took her breath away. Next, Lori found an egret and a heron sharing a tree. This time she was at Whitney Point Reservoir and was surprised that they got along as well as they did. And then suddenly the heron became the bully. Lori also found a green heron on the Susquehanna. This photo is from Marina Gorsh, the indigo bunting. She writes, I love how well they stand out on such a gray background. Marina also found the American kestrel. She writes, I really love these small but fierce birds, and I really did like this photo. And here's the gray catbird that Marina found. I like how well this came out and how clear it is. I love that splash of red. Garrett Kamasi sent in photos, and this one is entitled Goldfinch on a Thistle. He says, I was watching a female goldfinch grabbing nesting material one spring morning. Garrett's next photo is called Perspective. American robin standing no taller than a dandelion. Look what Rico Sato found, the eastern screech owl. This was the first time seeing the eastern screech owl with my own eyes, and it was in the dead tree right across from my house. I was so excited, he wrote. Rico sent in the bald eagle and says, in Japan, it is good luck to dream of eagle on New Year's Day. But I saw this beautiful eagle on January 1st with my own eyes. And then The Baby American Robins by Rico. He says, I felt with love to see these little babies opening their mouths and wait for their mom to feed them. I also felt lucky to be able to witness them in my own place. Pamela Leah sent in the picture of the scarlet macaw. Last fall, while in Costa Rica, this bird put on a show for just me for what was at least 15 minutes. He was on my bucket list. He was the bird for the trip. Pamela also sent this photo of a bluebird pair. While renting a place in Springfield while having a new house built, this pair was doing their thing all spring out the back window. Bald eagles and ravens from Pamela. I don't know if an older camera trap photo qualifies for this presentation, but this was one of my favorite accidental photos. Accidental photos are great. Dorothy Scott Fiedler sent in the photo of the kingbird who was obeying the sign. Kingbird was at Glimmerglass State Park in July of 2021. And Feeding Time by Dorothy. English sparrows in a gourd birdhouse that she made. This photo was July of 2022. And The Glaring Owl from Dorothy. Short-eared owl in Genovesa Island, Galapagos, taken in 2013. And that's it for me. And Becky, you're next.
Thank you, Londa. We have a photo from Nancy. We have a photo from Nancy Simons entitled Mystery Bird. She says the identification of the white bird seen several times on Waterman Road proved a real challenge. They believed it was a leucistic song sparrow based on the vocalization in this video. Listen carefully. And Nancy says, although I first thought this was an exotic, the consensus seems to be that it is a leucistic song sparrow. Janet Potter has sent 3 lovely photos. This is a photo of a great egret courtship display. which was taken at sunset at the Venice Rookery in Florida. This beautiful and elegant bird is displaying his long feather plumes called egrets, A-I-G-R-E-T-T-E-S. Interesting. Janet sent this photo of a song sparrow singing, which was taken, song sparrow singing, she says, one of the happiest sounds in the world. The song sparrow tune lifts one's spirits every time it's heard. This was taken at the Cornell Botanic Gardens in Ithaca, New York. And this is Janet's photo of a Wilson's snipe taken at Celery Fields in Sarasota, Florida. She says this Wilson snipe was right out in the open, giving me a good chance to catch this photo. I think it captures the understated beauty of this not very colorful bird. And we have 3 photos coming up from Barbara Palmer. This is a photo of snow goose migration. Barbara says we were fortunate enough to catch the snow goose migration at Montezuma Wildlife Refuge in March. This image just shows a few of the hundreds of thousands of birds we saw while we were there. Barbara sent this photo of a yellow warbler. She loves the movement of this warbler and how he seems to be making eye contact with her. And this photo from Barbara is a brown thrasher. She says, we had a pair of brown thrashers build a nest in one of our boxwoods this spring. It was wonderful watching them throughout the entire nesting saga. Seeing these beautiful birds every day for weeks and having them become accustomed to our voices was pretty special. We have 3 photos from Michelle Brigman. This is a female red-tailed hawk stretching. She says red-tailed hawks are my favorite bird of prey, and I've been following this girl for almost 4 years. Michelle sent this photo of a great horned owl. This great horned owl mom is bringing food for her babies. This is Michelle's photo of eaglets. She says bald eagle eaglets before fledging are in this photo. She watched these 2 from the time they hatched and found it amazing to see them grow and start their new journey. Roger Hubbard Jr. has sent 3 photos. This is a photo of short-billed dowitchers. He says, this summer was my first encounter with the short-billed dowitcher, along with various sandpipers in eastern Long Island. This is Roger's photograph of an American bittern, if you can find it. He says, I was lucky to spot this hide and seek champion of the marsh. Roger sent this photo of ruddy turnstones. Possibly, he says, possibly one of my all-time favorite shorebirds. I don't often see numbers like this. That's a treat. Our next narrator is Jane Backman.
Thank you, Becky. We have two photos here from David Potter, a great horned owl nest. After retiring to a farm along the Oregon-Idaho border, I was lucky enough to have a great horned owl nest along my daily walking route. A trail at the top of a steep bank allowed me to look directly across at the nest, maybe 40 feet up in the tree. Camera, Canon T6S, 1/500th of a second, f8, ISO 100, focal length 250 millimeters. Again from David Potter, great horned owl posing for her picture. When two of my sisters, Janet Potter, DOAS board member, and Linda Foodie visited the Oregon-Idaho border area last fall, a great horned owl roosted along my walking route one day. The owl was very agreeable, posing while we all took pictures from a relatively close range of maybe 20 yards. Camera, Panasonic DC ZS200, 1/250th of a second, f7.1, ISO 800, focal length 135 millimeters. And now we have three pictures from Catherine Davino, a gray jay from the Adirondack region. In June 2014, my husband Al and I joined a fantastic trip hosted by DOAS to explore birds of the Adirondacks near Lake Placid. The guides brought us to a place where gray jays were frequently found, and this lovely adult jay came looking for the peanuts we were offering. The adults and juveniles were eating right out of our hands, a very memorable experience. Another from Catherine, a northern flicker on suet. Several years ago, the northern flickers discovered my suet feeders and would also often come to feed in spring to supplement their diet of ants. In my opinion, this male flicker is one of the most handsome birds found in our region. The splash of red on his nape, the black malar markings, his ornate polka-dotted breast, not to mention the white rump and yellow feather shafts that flash under his wings when he flies, always catch my eye and take my breath away. And finally from Catherine, evening grosbeaks come to dine. These male evening grosbeaks would give the flicker some hefty competition in a beauty contest. A small flock, hungry for sunflower seeds, descended on my feeders in October of 2020. They are not guaranteed to be annual visitors, so when they appear, it's truly a magical moment. And we have three photos from Jenny Grimes. The first is a mute swan, nesting swan at Montezuma. The second is a green heron at the Rogers Center. And also from Jenny, a barred owl. This owl was tired of all the rain and came out of the woods to dry out a bit. This photo is from Darren Slater, hummingbird. Had a family of hummingbirds coming to the feeder regularly. Such a fun bird to have on the back deck. And from John Davis, an American redstart attacking my bedroom window. Over about 2 hours, the bird repeatedly rushed at the window screen, immediately backing off. And we have 3 from Gail Du Bois. Tufted titmouse on an icy branch. This tufted titmouse came to rest on this icy branch while waiting for its turn at the feeder. A female cardinal landing on a pine branch. This female northern cardinal landed gracefully on this pine branch to rest for a while before taking off again. And finally from Gail, indigo bunting on a wild rose branch. Every spring in our area, I get a brief look at the indigo bunting. I was able to get this photo before he took off. And Andy Mason will continue with the narration.
Thanks, Jane. These next series are from Nelson Du Bois, Gail's husband. They're both excellent photographers. This first one is a hen and drake mallard taking off from water. This hen and drake mallard pair took off suddenly at a local wetland in Butternuts, leaving behind a splash of water. Also from Nelson, sunrise in Otsego, New York. This sunrise was taken early morning from the deck of our house. Good reason to get up early. From Suzanne Gaynor, a male wood duck. This male wood duck struck a striking pose at a wetland not far from our home. Beautiful birds. Also from Suzanne Gaynor, turkey vulture on a fence post overlooking another on the ground who was feeding on roadkill. I kind of love turkey vultures. They don't get a lot of love, so that's good. Another one from Suzanne Gaynor, a Louisiana water thrush, taken on the rail trail in East Meredith along Courtright Creek. I hear them singing quite a lot during spring and summer and loved capturing this one mid-song. And one more from Sue. A pair of towhees visit my yard for a few days every spring, then disappears. It's something I look forward to each year. The next photos are from Laura South. This is an osprey guarding a nest. This was taken in Point Pleasant, New Jersey, near a refuge called Lake of the Lilies, right next to the beach. Also from Laura, another photo of ruddy turnstones, taken at Edwin Forsyth Wildlife Drive near Atlantic City, New Jersey. There were many flocks of them feasting on the horseshoe crabs along the shore. And this also from Laura, an immature eagle taken at Edwin Forsyth Drive near Atlantic City. The next three photos were taken by Pam Peters. A bobolink on posted land. Bobolinks always seem to be diving or hiding among the tall grasses in the fields, so it was a treat to catch this male perched on a fence post on an early June morning. Bonus, it is in one of my atlas blocks. Also from Pam, gosling learning to walk. There was a frost on the ground in early May when I took this photo. Canada geese raise their family at this pond on East Brook Road outside Walton every year. I love the early morning light. And Pam took this photo of a wood pewee. I watched this adult wood pewee fly around our backyard over the course of several days in mid-August, catching insects and feeding its young. I hear peewees more than I see them and was very happy to find this bird perched on an old apple tree long enough to get a shot. And the next three photos are from Melina Cronin, a black-throated blue warbler. How happy I was when this beautiful warbler joined me in the yard. I was even more thrilled when it was dusk and I had my camera ready. Nice photo. Also, Melina, a snowy owl fluffing. It was an amazing eruption year for snowy owls this past winter. I love this photo because it was actually photoed in March. Not many people were aware that some snowy owls were still lingering. I was able to spend some amazing quality time with the snowy owl all by myself, photographing it from a safe distance. Also from Melina Cronin, Great Horned Owl Family. What a thrill to have the opportunity to photograph a great horned owl nest for about 6 weeks. I have many favorite photos of this amazing adventure. This photo was taken the day the owlets fledged. Yeah, owls are very photogenic when you can get them. And that is our last photo. Yes, definitely thank you to all these wonderful photographers. As I said at the beginning, I'm always amazed when we do a program like this, just how high quality and the variation in the photos we get. Just a lot of talented people out there. So thank you for joining us. I want to make one correction to one of the announcements I made earlier. Our annual dinner is actually on October 21st, Friday, October 21st. So check that on your calendar. And I hope we see you at our open house or up at the Hawk Watch this fall. Please join us for one of our activities. So thank you to all, to Susan O'Hanley for putting the presentation together, and all our narrators, and again, especially to the photographers. So have a good night.